We wanted to say thank you for coming and welcome to this event. My name is Jerreh Kujabi. I am from the Gambia in West Africa. I moved to Wisconsin about 20 years ago. Prior to that, I lived in New York, and I worked for the Sun Prairie Area School District as a network engineer. Outside of the community, outside of my work, my engagement with the community is as the president of the Senegambia Association of Madison, which is a local organization of Senegalese and Gambians in the city of Madison. I also serve on the board of the African Association of Madison, which is an umbrella organization of all the African associations that are here in the city. I also serve as board chair of a newly established sister city relationship between the city of the Gambia and Kanifing, which is the city where I come from. And that organization is called the Madison Kanifing Sister City. I would like to introduce our sponsors today, which are IRIS, and co-sponsors, which are the African Studies program at the University of Madison. The Institute of Regional and International Studies Natural Resource Center outreach supports and enhances international and global awareness and inspired informed thinking around informed thinking about the complexities of the world. They provide resources and expertise to K-12 teachers and students, post-secondary educators and students, and the community at large. And the co-sponsors, like I mentioned for this event today, are the African Studies program at the University of Wisconsin. Running our technology today is Carmen Pitts. If you run into any technical difficulties, you can use the chat function and you can contact her that way. I also wanted to let everyone know that this event today will be recorded and the link as well as other digital resources would be shared with all the attendees or participants in a post-event email tomorrow. The other thing that I wanted to note is that you would only show on the recording if your microphone is turned on to speak. So if your microphone is on to speak, then the recording will capture you. And so at this point, I just wanted to introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Representative Baldeh, who represents District 48 at the state of Wisconsin. He was sworn in as Assemblyman after serving 3 terms as Madison Common Council representing District 17 of the city of Madison. It's a position that he still holds. So he wears 2 hats today, one as representative and the other as an alder. He is the first Gambian that was elected to the Wisconsin State Assembly. And like I mentioned earlier, during his term as an alder with the city of Madison, he really orchestrated the establishment of the sister city relationship that I mentioned earlier, which is its first with the city of Madison. Prior to the Madison City Council, sister city being established, the Madison Kanifing Sister City being established, the city of Madison had about 7 sister city relationships with other cities around the world, but none in Africa. So right after the Alderman's election to council, he was seated on the Sister City Collaboration Committee, and he really championed the establishment of that relationship. At this point, I will turn it over to Representative Baldeh, and we will get started. After his presentation, there will be an opportunity for a question and answer session. And feel free to put in your questions in the chat window and we'll go through them and provide answers as we go along. Once again, thank you to all of you for taking part in this event, and we will bring on Representative Baldeh.
All right, well, thank you, Jerreh, and thank you to the Institute for Regional and International Studies, the African Studies program but to all of you for tuning in. So like Jerreh alluded to, I'm a native of the Gambia as well, but I've lived in the United States for a little over 20 years now. And so my professional training is software engineering, but about 6 years or so ago, I also developed interest in politics. Prior to that, I was also very active in the community. So as you may note, the way I want us to do this event is basically to make it very interactive, talk about the issue in hand and also have a conversations, but also question and answers for people who may be curious about what it looks like in Gambia, particularly when it comes to recycling. So one plastic bag, Aissatou Ceesay and the recycling women of the Gambia, plastics bag, but also recycling is a problem in many developing countries, particularly in this case, the Gambia. And so from what I would like us to do is to basically, I would have read the book to everybody, but we have a YouTube video of it. So I would ask Carmen to play the video, and then after the video is played, we also have a PowerPoint presentation. So Jerreh, myself, and a friend of ours have a consultancy business called Go Group. So we mainly consult on the environment for the Go Group. We also partner with an engineering company called SCS. So we'll do a PowerPoint presentation that we did to Kanifing Municipal Council. And then after that, we'll just give you an aerial photo of what it looks like. I mean, the Gambia, for example, has only one dump site. There is no, processing plant, if you would like. So we'll show you where that is located so you can see really the challenges that the Gambian people are faced with. Aissatou Ceesay and others were doing it at a small scale, but the country is faced with a much more difficult challenge than what it prevails in the rural areas. So Carmen, if you can play the video and we can all see what is in the book. The audio is not coming.
Since you're muted, I think the audio isn't coming through, Carmen.
Sorry about that.
Written by Miranda Poe. Illustrations by Elizabeth Zuna. Jiao, Gambia. Aissatou walks with her chin frozen. Fat raindrops pelt her bare arms. Her face hides in the shadow of a palm leaf basket, and her neck stings with every step. Warm scents of burning wood and bubbling peanut stew drift past. Her village is close now. She lifts her nose to catch the smell. The basket tips. One fruit tumbles, then 2, then 10. The basket breaks. Aissatou kicks the dirt. Something silky dances past her eyes, softening her anger. It moves like a flag flapping in the wind and settles under a tamarind tree. Aissatou slides the strange fabric through her fingers and discovers it can carry things inside. She gathers her fruits in the bag. The basket is useless now. She drops it, knowing it will crumble and mix back in with the dirt. 4 goats greet Aissatou as Grandmother Wambe emerges from her kitchen hut. Hurry in before the rain soaks your beautiful yuba. Aissatou scurries in, and Grandmother serves spicy rice and fish. Rain drums on the creaking aluminum roof. I broke your basket, Isatu confesses. But I found this. Plastic, grandmother frowns. There's more in the city. Day after day, Isatu watches neighbors tote their things in bright blue or black plastic bags. Children slurp water and wanjo from tiny holes poked in clear bags. Market trays fill with minties wrapped in rainbows of plastic. The colors are beautiful, she thinks. She swings her bag high. The handle breaks. One paper escapes, then 2, then 10. Isatu shakes sand off her papers. Another plastic bag floats by, and she tucks her things inside. The torn bag is useless now. She drops it to the dirt, as everyone does. There's nowhere else to put it. Day after day, the bag she dropped is still there. One plastic bag becomes 2, then 10, then 100. Plastic isn't beautiful anymore, she thinks. Her feet step down a cleaner path, and the thought floats away. Years pass, and Isatu grows into a woman. She barely notices the ugliness growing around her, until the ugliness finds its way to her. Isatu hears a goat crying and hurries toward grandmother's house. Why is it tied up? Where are the other goats? Inside, the butcher is speaking in a low voice. Many goats have been eating these, he says. The bags twist around their insides and the animals cannot survive. Now 3 of your goats and so many other goats in the village have died. Grandmother Mwambe's powerful shoulders sag. Isatu must be strong and do something. But what? Isatu's feet lead her to the old, ugly road. A pile of garbage stands as wide as grandmother's cooking hut. Mosquitoes swarm near dirty pools of water alongside the pile. Smoke from burning plastic stings her nose. Her feet back away. Goats scamper past. They forage through the trash for food. Her feet stop. She knows too much to ignore it now. Holding her breath, she plucks 1 plastic bag from the pile, then 2, then 10, then 100. What can we do? Isatu asks her friends. Let's wash them, says Fatin, pulling out Umo soap. Maram grabs a bucket and Inja fetches water from the well. Peggy finds clothespins, and they clip the wash bags on the line. As the bags dry, Isatu watches her sister crochet. Can you teach me? Wah, yes. Her sister shows Isatu the stitches, then hands her a metal tool. Isatu's fingers busy themselves. In, out, around. Jerreh, thank you. Isatu finds a broomstick and carves her own tool from its wood. What's that for? Fatin asks. Isatu pauses. She and Peggy have an idea, but will their friends think it's crazy? Will the idea even work? Nervously, she explains the plan. 1 friend agrees to help, then 2, then 5. The women cut bags into strips and roll them into spools of plastic thread. Before long, they teach themselves how to crochet with this thread. Nagaliki B, asked grandmother. How is the work? Nadanka, answers Isatu. Slow. Some people in the village laugh at us. Others call us dirty, but I believe what we are doing is good. The women crochet by candlelight, away from those who mock them. Until a morning comes when they will no longer work in secret. Fingers sore and blistered, Isatu hauls the recycled purses to the city. One person laughs at her, then 2, then 10, then... One woman lays Delassie coins on the table. She chooses a purse and shows it to one friend, then 2, then 10. Soon, everyone wants one. Isatu fills her own purse with Delassie. She zips it shut and rides home to tell grandmother she has made enough to buy a new goat. When she passes by the pile of rubbish, she smiles because it is smaller now. She tells herself, one day it will be gone. My home will be beautiful. And one day, author's note. I first traveled to the Gambia, West Africa in 2003 as a volunteer teacher. I had an amazing experience, but something threatened to ruin my memory of it all. The heaps of garbage piled everywhere. The problem seemed too big to fix. Then a friend told me that in a rural village, a woman named Isatu Cisse was doing something about it. My friend showed me a beautiful purse made from recycled bags, and I vowed to meet Isatu. During my third stay in the Gambia in 2007, I finally connected with Isatu. I've interviewed many women and girls, including the original Gambian women who had begun the recycling project with Isatu a decade earlier. They shared past stories of dead livestock, strangled gardens, and malaria outbreaks linked to the trash. But they also shared new stories of healthier families, better income, and increased self-confidence. Although I wasn't able to include all the details about the women and their project in this book, I believe the story I've shaped captures their spirit and inspirational accomplishments. Today, Yujao is much cleaner, the goats are healthier, and the gardens grow better. Residents from nearby towns travel there to learn the craft of recycling. People from around the world continue to purchase the recycled plastic purses, and the women contribute some of their earnings toward an empowerment center where community members enjoy free health and literacy classes, as well as learn about the danger of burning plastic trash. In 2012, that center also became the home for the region's first public library. By the time you read this book, I hope that a copy of One Plastic Bag is shelved there, and that it will be checked out once, then twice, then 100 times.
So what is your hope for this project?
My hope is like to pilot it all over the country. If we can pilot it all over the world, so that people will be able to control the plastic bag, because it's definitely very difficult to decompose, and it can make a lot of problems around us.
Very good. So as you can see, Isatu and her fellow Gambian women are not only very creative, but also determined to tackle this challenge. But it's a bigger challenge, compared to the urban area. And so, like I said at the introduction, Jerreh, myself, and our friend Kababa, have a consultancy business called Midwest Go Group. And so about a year or so ago, we went to Gambia to talk to the municipality about how we can help address some of the challenges that they are also faced with at a bigger scale. But the problem of recycling plastic particularly is a big challenge for this part of the world. And so we had prepared a PowerPoint presentation, which I think is also very closely related to what Aissatou and her fellow women have been doing in the Gambia. And so we'll go through the PowerPoint, I'll speak to it. And then once it is complete, we also have an aerial photo that I would like to show everybody, so you see where the backwater dump site is and its proximity to residential areas. So as you can see, like I said, we have this Midwest Go group. This is a consultancy business that we came up with mainly to help address some of the challenges in Gambia, but in other parts of Africa as well. And we also work with a company called SCS, which is an engineering company here based in Madison, Wisconsin. So as you can see, on the map, Gambia is a very tiny little bitty country. It's the smallest country in mainland Africa. And so now, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but now is where you have the red dot on the Gambia. It's a little to the eastern part of that. So a little to the east is where Njau is located. It's in the rural northern part of Gambia. And then as you can see in the general map, where Gambia is located on the left side of your screen. Like I said, it's a very tiny, small country, but has a lot of environmental issues. Next, like Jerreh alluded to this, the city of Madison has a sister city relationship with Kanifing, which is the biggest municipality in the Gambia. And so obviously when I was elected in 2015, it was important for me that we have a sister city relationship in Africa. And so Kanifing became the first sister city in Africa, and then we got one in Ethiopia, Bahirda. And so, the sister city relationship also, just like the IRIS and also the African Center, identify areas of partnership and champion those areas. And so one of the areas that the sister city has been helping with, even outside of the GO group, is to help, share resources with the Kanifing municipality as to how they can close the backwater dump site and open a landfill. As you may know, there's only one dump site basically in the Gambia, but it is in the middle of a residential area, and there's no landfill at all. And so we've been working with them, trying to help them figure out how to improve this situation. Next. So this, it's just a timeline, but you can see on the right-hand side here, this is one way of delivering, or at least dumping, collecting waste and taking it to the dump site. Next. So obviously this is why there's a need and there's an urgency for us to be able to do something. As you can see, this dump site, even just about 2-3 weeks ago, caught fire. And this is in the middle of a residential area, not very, far also from the Banjul International Airport. Sometimes when these fires are very bad, even landing at the airport becomes a challenge. So next. So like I said, Jerreh, myself, and Kaba. So Kaba is the one here with our partner here, Chris, who works for SCS Engineering. They visited Gambia and made this presentation to Kanifing Municipal Council as to how we can help, and the approach that they think will work best to help fix the issue at the backwater dump site. So again, this was just a stakeholders meeting when Kaba and Chris were in the Gambia. They organized a series of meetings with neighbors, but other stakeholders like the environmental agency in the Gambia, the central government, and other agencies that are interested in making sure that this environmental hazard is addressed. And that included the United Nations branch in the Gambia and also the American Embassy. So this is Kaba here at the extreme left, and then Chris is the white guy in the middle. And then some of these people are also people who do some work at the dump site, passionate about getting this place closed. So again, this is Kaba and Chris team and some of the scavengers. So as you may know, there are a lot of people who also depend on this dump site for their living. There's a presentation as we go where Kaba and Chris, while they were there, they realized that somebody actually lived at this dump site with his family. And so, thought they could help him out with, either build him a house or provide rent money. And also there was a child who was born around the same time, I think at the dump site, whom they decided to adopt in terms of supporting that child. But over 300 people depend on this dump site for their daily living, and some of them live at the dump site. Obviously, one thing the sister city did was obviously to open, to give Kanifing Municipal Council access to the way that garbage collection or recycling is done in the city of Madison. And so, as you can see, since the sister city was established, they've been able to work with their local businesses, and we're able to purchase over 20 semi collection trucks. The city of Madison also donated to them about, I think, 1,000 or 2,000 garbage collection cans. And so I think this is Kaba and his team just standing before a dump truck. These trucks they got from China, I think. Again, this is Chris and his team. I think they are talking to the guy that they are here with is a representative of the UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Program. So again, there are a lot of agencies that are invested in really making sure that this dump site is closed. And like I said, this is very tightly related to recycling of plastic bags. So just wanted you to have a good view of where the dump site is located. So this is an aerial photo of where the dump site is located. So there are residential areas all over this place. And you will see the detail of that as we go forward. So again, this is the dump site. So these are some evaluation that Kaba and his team did. It's a big dump site, but again, it has been the only dump site in that very densely populated urban area. And so it's full now, basically to capacity, and it's catching a lot of fire almost on a daily basis. So, you can see this is the municipal cart that, collect and drop garbage, but also they use donkey cart like you saw at the beginning. So there are also private haulers, people who will put this in their cars or their trucks or something. As you can see here, so there are different ways. I mean, tons of ways that people take their waste to the dump site. This is a photo of the dump site. Obviously, this is a public health challenge. Bakote also, this dump site is next to an orphanage center. And so you can imagine, the impact this will also have in those kids. So this is why that orphanage is also very invested to make sure that at least something is done about the dump site. So as you can see, like Aisatu and Miranda alluded to in their book, the plastics are not good for animals. And you can see they are also scavengers. In many cases, they stop by to eat. And, sometimes when they swallow this plastic bag, the only likely outcome is to slaughter them for food and stuff like that. So it leads to really, increasing poverty for people who depends on these animals for their economic security. Again, these are kids. There's no control. You can't stop this kid from going to the dump site, like I said.
About the book more specifically, We can talk about the presentation that he made in terms of backward if participants have questions about that. But I wanted to say before Carmen gets the video up, you know, I read about Miranda a couple of years ago and reached out to her. I was really excited when I read the book for one, just highlighting the issue that the representative just mentioned, getting that to a global scale in terms of awareness for the challenges the challenges that are faced not just in this region, but in the entire country, like the representative said. And of course, for Aissatou taking the initiative to take on the project as a single person, like you saw in the books, he said it was just me and then another friend and then 5. And then, you know, when Miranda wrote the book, one person, 10 and then 100. And her hope is that hundreds more libraries across the world, not just the United States, would get to read the book. It's an inspiring story on many levels. One, the initiative brought about improvement in income for these ladies in the rural areas, something that they can do to generate revenue for themselves and their families. The other thing, as mentioned in the book, is just the impact to the livestock, which also is another negative impact that it has on the folks that live in the rural areas. I'm not sure how much you know about life in rural sub-Saharan Africa, but most families in those parts of the world depend on livestock. So you can imagine having plastic not only being a nuisance in terms of the smell when it's burnt and all that, but then it's killing your animals on which your livelihood depends. So the project is just a win-win situation, no matter which way you look at it. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty in terms of.
I think I can show the video here. Can you hear? Is it playing? No?
No, we can hear.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah.
You know, like I said in the beginning, in the opening, okay, looks like it's gonna happen, hopefully.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So since you're not sharing audio, what you guys see is just a still video. But like I said, we're not going to play the video in its entirety. What we'll do is just pan out just to show you an aerial view of what this site looks like. So this is not in Jau. This is not the place where the book is written about. This is actually in the heart of the Kanifing Municipal Council, in the most urban, densely populated parts of the country. When the representative and myself were kids growing up, this dump site was far removed from residential areas. But because of population growth and all that, now, as you can see, residences have encroached all the way to the edges of this dump site. And so it's an environmental hazard to an extent that you know, fires would just catch automatically. When it rains during the rainy season, you know, it would flood most of the residences that are close by. And so it's a problem all over. And so, like the representative mentioned, we put together a consultancy firm that works with the municipality in partnership with SCS. And one of our partners is on the call right now. And the partner that we have from SCS, which is an engineering company here in Madison, is also on this Zoom session. It's a problem that we're trying to engage our partners all across the globe to resolve. One of the things really that has become a big problem is that across the street from this dump site is, what do you call it, is the SOS. It's an orphanage. And so you can imagine that and all the other things that come with just having a dump site in the middle of a residential area that is of this scale. I think Representative Baldeh, at this point, we can pause the video and we will open up the session to questions and answers.
Very good.
It's about 4:40. Like I said earlier, we will take questions through the chat window. The questions can cover anything from the book to generally anything Gambia that you'd like to know, or related, or anything related specifically to the dump site that he just highlighted.
Mm. So I also think, Jerreh, you have the raise hand feature on the thing. So if people want to raise their hands and speak their questions, I think we can do that. I also want to acknowledge the presence of, Chris, who worked for SCS, and also Kaba, one of our friend and partner in terms of, yeah. So Kaba, raise your hand. Chris, can you raise your hand, please? All right, there you go. All right, so if you have any questions, please raise your hand or use the chat window. Jerreh.
Okay.
Dr. Danvers want to ask a question, Jerreh.
All right, sorry, let me see if I can get him unmuted here. Samba, were you sharing your screen or was that Carmen? I just wanted to stop screen sharing right now and be able to pull up the pane to where I see everyone. It's going to be easier than scrolling through the different windows to find people.
I have stopped sharing, so Carmen, if you are sharing, you probably can stop.
Dr. Davis should be able to speak up right now, by the way. So we're going to be unmuting people individually.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. My name is Danfas Mabea. I'm originally from Kenya, but live here in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I teach at Southeast Community College. I remember in 1993 in Kenya, I did write an article about plastic bags in Kenya into a daily newspaper in Kenya, and nobody paid attention. And actually some of the comments I got were very negative.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just went like that. But I'm happy that now the issue is not only a Gambian issue, it's also a Kenyan issue. And actually Kenya has now banned the use of plastic bags in Kenya now. I'm wondering, my question is, you showed us a lot of efforts that are done by the community and the municipality there of collecting this garbage. Who pays for it? How do you pay for it? And also, is Gambia, as Gambian government, also banned the use of plastic bags?
Yeah, so thank you for that question, Doctor. So, as you may know, we have a new government that has been there now for about 5 years. The previous government, the Ajame government, had banned plastic bags towards the end. But I do not think the current government is enforcing that. So the problem still persists. But even when it was banned, the plastics were there, and we all know recycling them is a big challenge.
Yes.
As to how these people are paid, they are paid by the people who owns the garbage. So they come to collect from people's home and take it to the recycling place. So those people who are sending their garbage through the collectors are the ones who pay them. There are also people who are employed by the municipality who also are paid by the municipality and helps to run the dump site. But that is how the process works. I don't know, Jerreh, if you have any additional information with regards to whether or not plastic bags are now banned in the Gambia or not, but I know they were before, but now I'm not sure. But we have tons of them around, even if they are banned.
Yep, I think like you said, the ban is not enforced. It was instituted towards the end of the previous government that we had, and the current government is not currently enforcing that.
Very good. Kaba, do you have different information or no?
Kaba would have to raise his hand to be unmuted.
Hello, guys. Thank you, Alderman Baldeh and Mr. Kujabi here. Yes, I think what you mentioned is correct. There was a ban that was put in place right towards the end of the last government, probably around 2011-12 was when it started. But before that, it was already a mess. That does not mean that there's still not plastic. There's still plastic getting into the country. Most of it come pre-packaged nowadays. Before, there was plastic that was everywhere, from recycling to people making orange juice and putting it in plastics and recycling them. Now you can get plastic that's pre-packaged outside coming into the country. And now that we have a new government also, those restrictions from the previous government are not being strictly followed. And in terms of payment, who pays for it? I think the answer to that is correct as well.
Very good. Yeah. Jerreh, I saw somebody raise their hand, but I can't see it anymore.
Yeah, so I will go to Pam. Pam has a question in the chat. It says, what is the plan for these women and other groups like this that rely on using garbage for their livelihood when hopefully the garbage one day is all gone?
Well, that is a difficult question really to to answer, but it's very, very important question, obviously. Like we saw, these people make their living off of this. The good thing with the Njau story is that the women were able to use the recycling process to make living out of it. Not only make living out of it, but they were able to bring their communities together and get kind of some sort of a business started around that, train the women as to how they can recycle, but also as a result of their effort, we're able to get a library to help educate their kids. Obviously, at some point, particularly if the use of plastic bags is banned, that source of income is going to go. The hope is that with the library and having a business model through this recycling, that they can come up with something that is sustainable. What we know we are doing as a consultancy firm, but also as a sister city, is working with KMC on their dump site to see how we can help them cap the dump site, but also work with the over 300 scavengers that they have there and retool them. I mean, teach them different skills so they can take up different trades. There's also another company that is also very engaged in terms of how to recycle plastic, and they use plastic for bricks, for yard construction or something of that nature. So my assumption is that obviously in the rural area is different, but in the KMC area, the idea is to transition the 300 plus scavengers into different skill sets and make sure that you know, either they work in different areas or when we build the landfill, that they are able to work at the landfill and be able to provide for their families.
Okay, very good. Next question is from Kate. I don't know if anyone is raising their hands directly, but I'm going on through the chat to just pull these questions up. Next question is from Kate, and Kate wants to know what types of education programs are being done throughout the country to prevent future dump sites or this extent of pollution from happening in the future?
So I am not sure there's a formalized system of educating people about waste and waste management. But what I know is the Kanifing Municipal Council particularly is very engaged with the young people as to how to recycle. You know, a good example is a youth group that is using tires for garbage collections and things like that. So I don't think there's a formal educational or formal curriculum where people are taught about recycling, environmental management, and things of that nature. When I was growing up there myself, I started a youth organization that was primarily focused on waste management called the Kanifing Issue Development Society. But that was local. It's not at the national level where people have very good consciousness around waste and waste management. But hopefully, if we are able to make progress on closing the dump site and opening a landfill, part of that will be a component of environmental education and waste management. So I don't know, Chris, you have something to add to this, but as far as I know, there's no formal education.
All right, we will unmute Chris to.
Chris, can you raise your hand again, please? Comment, are you able to unmute Chris? Okay, so can you unmute? Okay, go.
Yes, thanks for having me, Representative Baldeh. Really appreciate the opportunity to go over to Gambia in June of 2019 and be a part of continuing this engagement to try to fix this issue in the Gambia, right in the middle of their largest urban area. I think that part of our plan is to provide a little bit more education and outreach. Our team is very focused on the infrastructure, but we also are working with partners that are going to help out with education and outreach to provide those skills and that knowledge base to the general public in the urban areas, and then hopefully that will spread throughout to the rural areas of Gambia.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. Next question was from Amy Clements. She says, thank you so much for one, bringing the book to us and Aissa's story. You're welcome. Two, but also sharing about the dump site and making us aware of this in Madison's city. If you're able to get this site closed, what will be the plan for the land and what needs to happen to get that happen?
Mm-hmm. So thank you, and that is a very, very important question, and I think that's where our focus is. What can we use the land for? I believe Chris can speak to the detail of this, but I think our intention is, it depends on what really works best for KMC. As you may note, is closing dump sites can be very expensive. So there have been different ideas out there. I mean, we can close it and use it as a green space. We can close it and use it for different purposes, soccer fields and things of that nature, a park, but I'm not sure exactly what we will be able to do. This will depend on the funding and things of that nature. But I'll let Chris speak to some of the options that we have, or maybe come.
Sure, thanks, Samba. I think, like Samba said, I think it's a little bit up in the air as to what exactly gets done on the dump site. But, I think the important part is to try to cover up the risk to all the residents around there. And of primary importance, as mentioned earlier, the fire risk is prevalent, and until we get a cover over this entire 45-acre dump site, there's going to be some risk still there. So I do think, in talking with the people in the wards around there, that's what I think about. And that's kind of what drives me and Kaba, I know, thinking about those people that are still dealing with this issue on a daily basis, how they looked to us with hope that we could, one day provide a solution. And that's what I'm hoping we can eventually do. But I think it would be some type of, what they do for landfill here is they cover it with like a clay liner or a geosynthetic liner, and then have, they'll put dirt on top of that, topsoil, and then eventually grass. So there's also maybe discussion of doing an artificial turf. We're also looking at potentially putting solar on a portion of the dump site to be able to harvest some renewable energy. So lots of ideas, and like Samba said, I think the costs will provide us, different options and what to potentially do.
All right, thanks, Chris. We'll move on to the next question from Danielle. Are you aware of any other grassroots projects that people are doing to reduce garbage or plastic?
Yes, so obviously, like I alluded to earlier, young people in the country are very environmentally aware. And so there's one group, I think they're called Molo or something. They come together and use, there's a lot of just waste thrown all over the place. There's no control or way to really reprimand people for just throwing trash all over the place. So they use tires that are no longer usable in terms of vehicles and stuff and recycle them into garbage collections. There are also other people, who are really on very small scale, like I said, recycling this plastic bag into bricks and things like that. But I think, Kaba, you were there recently. If you have additional things to say, you can go ahead and do that.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Baldeh. There's a lot of grassroots work. The problem is coordination to tackle the big problem. When you get to the Gambia, you find everybody has some ideas. Some are working just on plastic, some are working on this, some are working on that. There's no scarcity of it. What is really scarce is being organized to really have a structural system that has a serious impact to the problem. And that requires a lot of engagement. One, there was a little bit of conversation here about education. There's also a little bit of that. When Chris and I were at the dump site, for example, my high school had a trip of students that actually met us on the dump site, where they brought students from high school to actually teach them about the issue right on hand. But it's not systematic. So there's a little bit of everything happening here and there. What is really lacking is a cohesive coordination of those things to really look at the big picture to have an impact.
Thank you, Kaba.
Okay, thanks, Kaba. I think those are all the questions that I had in the chat window. If anyone else has any more questions about the presentation today and the stories that you've heard, you can raise your hand or just drop it in the chat. Okay, so we have a question from Kate. Kate wants to know if there are any other books or videos that you can recommend.
So I do not know of any other books that related to either plastic recycling or garbage collection in Gambia. But what I know is we have a lot of resources in Jerreh, Kaba, and Chris. They should be able to share some information maybe after this meeting with comment and others if that is needed. But I don't know of any other books, but I know, like Kaba alluded to, there's a lot of grassroots efforts, but there's not too much documentations in terms of books and things like that. But if you are interested in this, particularly the dump site and how to help really some of these women groups, as you can see, the women are very creative and really they are very determined. And so it is up to all of us as human beings to be able to help and support. And so this project, I think, is a humanitarian project beyond it being an environmental hazard. So that way, like I said, there's a lot of resources that Chris, Kaba, myself has gathered. If you're interested in further reading about the backwater dump site and the environmental challenges it provides to Kanifing, we can share those resources.
Thank you very much, Representative Baldeh. And we want to thank everyone for attending. We're coming up on the hour here. It's 4:58, and we wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. I wanted to say thank you again for your participation in this event today, and special thanks to Iris, and also the UW African Studies Program for hosting us. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, this presentation would be available via email that is going to be sent out sometime tomorrow. And if you have additional questions, you can probably reach out via email to that same email that you'll be receiving the information from. Again, thank you very much. It's been an exciting conversation, and we are really pleased to have you all.
Yep, thank you, everybody. All right, good evening.